exotic star apples, Cascroat chow mein, and discovering your culinary identity. This week, we're in Tahiti.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who like to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this week, we're exploring exotic Tahiti. But first, take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It just takes a minute, and it helps foodie travelers like you find the show. And if you really like Destination Eat Drink, you'll love my Foodie Travel Guide ebooks. Lots of great foodie travel destinations in Europe, including some new ones in Italy at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink. Heimata Hall is an accomplished chef and founder of Tahiti Food Tours at tahitifoodtour.com. He tells me about his life in Tahiti and how he had to forge his own path away from the family's lucrative pearl business. Heimata tells me about reclaiming Tahiti's cuisine heritage and the French and Chinese influence on the island's food. He tells me about creating a street food tour in Tahiti and why snack shops are the place you have to visit. Plus, 80 varieties of mango, 15 varieties of bananas, and monster avocados. And I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Heimata Hall from Tahiti Food Tours. Great to connect with you. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about a place I don't know a lot about, Tahiti.
Yes. Well, thank you, Brent. Super stoked to be here with you and share a little knowledge about Tahiti and the food of Tahiti, really.
Great. I think we'll have some fun.
Yeah.
I think most people have heard of Tahiti. Like they know that it exists on the planet, but I think not maybe a lot of people know where it is, who lives there, what kind of place it is. Could you just give us a quick rundown on Tahiti?
Yeah, so Tahiti, South Pacific. So already on the geographical map, the Pacific, South Pacific. I think people always kind of thought of Tahiti as like this paradise. It's far away on the other side of the world, but I guess it depends where you are in the world. It is, but it's this tropical, bunch of islands. It's the size of Europe as far as ocean mass. So it's pretty big. That we're more of an ocean mass country.
Oh, wow.
Or continent, if you will, and which makes up about 118 different islands, but five archipelagos that make up the country of French Polynesia. And so you got islands that have mountains, and you have atolls, which meaning no mountains, just a barrier reef, and people live on those little sandbar islands. But the majority of the population obviously have the main island of Tahiti, which is, if you were to catch a flight here, that's where you would land. And then from there, you would catch either ferries or flights that go out to these other islands like Bora Bora. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of.
Sure.
That's usually the main one people know. And personally, I live on the island of Moorea, which is the sister island of the island of Tahiti, where the capital is.
Moorea. I guess I didn't realize how spread out it was. The size of Europe. I mean, that's huge.
It's huge.
It takes 3 hours, minimum to fly, to just to Central Europe from where I am in Portugal. So these must be some pretty significant flights if you want to get to the outer edges of Tahiti.
Like, say, from Tahiti to the Marquesas Islands, this is the furthest north that you would go. It's about a 4.5 hour flight to get up there, and then the Tuamotus can take up about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So yeah, you got some flight time to go to some of these places, but it takes time, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah, totally worth it. How long is the ferry ride from the island of Tahiti to you?
So today they're about between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on which ferry. There's a couple different, super easy. Back. So when I was a kid, it was like 2 to 3 hours to go.
Oh.
It wasn't a far destination. It's just the ferries back then were very, very slow.
Now you got the fast ferries. Super cool.
Yes.
Climate change must be a huge issue for you. How is it affecting you, and what's being done?
It's definitely affecting. I've seen over the last few decades the water rising, erosion on the coastlines and things like that. And I'm lucky. I live on an island where there are mountains, so you can always live higher. But the erosion of the coastlines, I think that's what's been really standing out more and more. And the further out you go to these, the Tuamotu Islands, at some point, the water's gonna come over those. Whether it's in my generation or the next, it's gonna happen. What's being done about it? I mean, there's a lot of conversation, I would say, but is there anything being physically done or a plan put in place? I haven't seen anything yet myself, but a lot of talk, a lot of conversations. You always have these blue climate conferences. We've held a few here. We had one with the ocean, the big one that then took place I think it was in France. Well, they did one here and then followed up in France. So yeah, the conversation is out there. A lot of different ideas. So we'll see which one sticks, or if there is something we can really do. I mean,
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Tahiti is a French territory, which I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know till I started, until I knew that I was going to talk to you. And I said, I'd better find out some more about Tahiti. I didn't know that, Heimata. So give me an idea. First of all, you as a person who was born in Tahiti, who's lived there all your life, do you hold a French passport? Do you hold a Polynesian passport, a Tahitian passport? How does it look for you as a citizen?
Good question. I get this question a lot on my food tours. So we used to hold French passports, and then the EU came along, and I want to say like 5 years ago, maybe. Now we're holding EU passports, because I think now all the passports in EU, right? It's like French, but through the EU. So we have EU passports that we hold. We're a French territory, but essentially a French territory country, and we are French citizens.
I was reading your bio, and you have kind of an interesting childhood because, your family had a pearl, I don't know if they still do, a pearl business. So you grew up in your family's pearl business. That sounds amazing and interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so growing up here, my parents, they very, very humble beginnings. And at some point in my dad met one of the pearl founders. There's three of them that founded the cultured pearls of Tahiti. And over time, he got in. The guy convinced him, he's like, "Hey, you want to get into pearls? That's the next big thing here in Tahiti." So he opened a little shop, really. And at the time on the island I live on, Moorea, he was one of two people to sell on the retail side. Pearls, Tahitian pearls. And so the fact that he got in early on it, tourism was just beginning to boom, and that's how he really made it. So over the years, I always watched my dad working, and just growing that business. And eventually when I finished college, I joined the family business, and I worked that for about 15 solid years.
Oh, wow. Serious.
Yeah. And what's funny is that the whole time I always wanted to be a chef. I always wanted to be in food. That was always my passion. But here I was just veering completely away from it. But I learned a lot. I think I was very blessed to have worked alongside my dad and learn about the pearl business. It was a good business.
Are Tahitian pearls, are they caught free diving, or are they farmed?
They're farmed. So all Tahitian pearls are cultured. Yeah, you have to culture them to grow them. So they have these farms out in the Tuamotu archipelagos and a few other, the archipelagos that farm these pearls. And yeah, it's become quite the industry here in Tahiti. It's one of the few things that we do export internationally.
So you're working in the pearl business, I assume with your father. And,
Yes.
How did you decide that you were going to pivot and make a career change and get into food?
Yeah, so that was a big day. That was a big decision. So
Yes.
15 years of working for the family business, and the whole time I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta pursue this dream. But oddly enough, my dad was never very supportive of that, of me pursuing my culinary dreams. Because it came from a good place. He was trying to look out for me, but I think we just didn't share the same vision of what I had for it. Because growing up, he really had to work hard, and he worked in the restaurant industry, and so he was like, "Why would you want to do that to yourself? Like,
It's
why would
hard
you want
work.
to work? It's hard work." And he kept telling me, he's like, "Heimata, look at the pearls. Okay, this is how much I buy the pearls for. This is how much we're selling it for. Profit. Look at the profit. And you're not working as hard as you would in the kitchen for, a third of what you're making now." And so he was really trying to, convince me to stay and take over the family business that was doing really well. And so I kind of listened to him for a while, right? A good 15 years. But I got to say, the last 4 years of working there, man, this fire inside of me just kept telling me, I felt like I was slowly dying on the inside, because
I know.
life was going. I was 37 years old. I was like, man, I can't believe, I'm not going to follow my passion, or at least try. I think that was the part, just try and follow my passion.
Right.
And resentment started to grow, so finally, one day I literally just said, "Dad, thank you for everything you did for me, but I'm out of here. I got to do this." And he was just like, "Well, you're really going to do this?" I was like, "You can't talk me out of it." I made up my mind. I literally bought an airplane ticket, sold my truck, jumped on a plane, and left. And he's like, I support you. I hope you know what you're doing. Good luck, And I got on the plane and I went to Hawaii.
And you went to Hawaii. And
I went to Hawaii.
Culinary school?
No, not right off the bat. So, what's interesting, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people that want to get into culinary, the big question is, do we do culinary school, or we just go straight into the industry as cooks, right? And I had pondered that for at least a couple of years leading up to me leaving. I watched a lot of, YouTube, searching chefs, Anthony Bourdain, what's the take? And it was really 50-50 when a lot of chefs, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And finally, after speaking to a few chefs myself, they said, "Hey, get in the industry first, see if you like it. And then if you don't like it, then you're not going to waste, all that money on culinary school versus going to culinary school and then getting in the real life kitchen and realizing this is not for you."
Yes.
So which is what I did. I went and seeked out I had done some research on these two chefs that had a couple restaurants together. And I really liked what they were doing, and it was exactly the vision. I felt like they already had the blueprint for the vision I had for food here in Tahiti, and what I wanted, the type of food I wanted to cook. So I got in touch with them and asked them if I could join their team, and if they would take me in as a no experience cook.
Right. Well, it worked out, huh? Who was the chef who gave you your break?
So the two chefs, Chef Ed Kenny and Chef Dave Caldero, those two chefs, yeah, they took a chance. They took a chance on me, and I'm ever so grateful for them giving me that opportunity to try and live a lifelong dream.
How did this get you back to Tahiti?
Yeah, I always felt Tahiti food was like stuck in a time capsule, and we weren't evolving, right? It was a very French influence. We have Tahitian cuisine, right? Tahitian cuisine is more like traditional, fish, the underground oven, fruits, things like that. It was very still like raw in a way. It didn't evolve. It was just in more of like its naturalist form. And then French influence arrived. And then as far as gastronomy, restaurants, it was more the French took the upper hand on that, right? Which is normal. I mean, France is known for the gastronomy of the world. Sure. You go to culinary school, every terminology you use is French, and then so my whole childhood, just my whole life living here, I always felt like, man, the food is just everywhere you go, every restaurant you go to, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And I felt like it wasn't very representative of our culture, of the ingredients and products that we have, the seasons that we had, and I was like, man, we gotta change that. And that's what motivated me to go to Hawaii versus going to France. Already that in a decision was a big decision I had pondered for a long time. Because, it made sense to go to France because that's where the best chefs are. And some of the best chefs in the world are. That's where the cuisine is. The gastronomy cuisine, it's really like at the cutting edge. And everybody's like, hey, Mata, you got to go to France. You got to go to France, And I was like,
but you want to learn to work with these tropical ingredients that are indigenous to your place.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And I was like, why am I going to go to France? My technique level is going to go through the roof, right, in France. But I'm not going to know how to work these ingredients that they have there here because we don't have these here. And that's what had happened, is that all the people or chefs that are here are either came from France or went and got trained in France and came here. And they're literally importing more things than they are looking of what's around us to cook.
So I was going to ask you that because I'm wondering, normally what happens is when you have this colonial influence, and India's on the top of my head right now because I just did an interview with a gentleman from Kolkata in India, and he was talking about how those different influences came in and how they melded together. But what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heimata, is that the French cuisine and the Tahitian cuisine almost existed in two parallel planes. There wasn't maybe as much cross-pollination as there might be in some other places. Do you think that's a fair representation?
I would say yes. For a long time, it was like that. And just to throw another piece into the puzzle, don't forget, we also have Chinese influence. So between those three, so the Chinese had Chinese food, the French was very French food, and Tahitian was very Tahitian food. There was little subtleties of like crossing between all those, right? But the French, you gotta remember, they're very proud about their cuisine. So it's like this is how we make this, And so I just felt like, man, these menus are all the same. You have your main Tahitian dishes like the raw fish and the coconut milk, what we call the poisson cru. They're going to have that. But then you're going to have tuna do rossini with the foie gras or duck, and then the Chinese, they had their version of different pork dishes and stuff. And if you go to like food trucks, snack shops, and these little kind of like bistro styles, it was very, that's what you can kind of get into. But there was never where somebody said, okay, let me take this French dish. Now let's see how I could adapt it with what I find here.
So give me an example of what you did, of how you brought these influences together, and what did you create? Talk with me a little bit about that.
Wow.
A big topic, I know, but
it is a big topic. I mean, so instead of talking what I did, I would say where I think I did more from my experience in Hawaii and saw and cooked and saw what they did and took the blueprint and implemented here. I think the role I really had is that I started the conversation.
Okay.
Of like, guys, we need to look within of what, like, we have some amazing ingredients, and I think we've always undermined that, or we never had the confidence in what we had here. Yeah. And I was like, guys, we got some freaking treasures here. We got some top shelf ingredients here. Like, why are we shipping duck in or all the? I mean, we should have those. I'm not saying not to have those, but like, let's also put forward what we can find here. And we never had seasonal cuisine before here. You know, a menu will stay the same all year round. And for me, I was like, hey, we have all these fruits that are coming into season, certain fish that are coming into season. Let's tie it back. Let's kind of look into our culture and see how the old culture, because they were really in tune with nature, when to fish certain things, when not to fish, when to plant, when not to plant, and all these things. And I was like, we need to take an approach of that, because that's also sustainability, right? Being connected. So I was like, okay, every menu has tuna, everything. I feel like, guys, we have so much more to offer than just tuna. Why are we only using tuna? We have all these fish, lagoon, reef fish that we all grew up eating as kids. We never ate tuna as kids, really. We just went spearfishing all the time, and we just ate whatever, like, for example, I mean, I know, parrotfish today is a big topic of the impact it has on the environment, and the sand and all that. But back then we didn't know that, but we weren't overfishing either. We just caught what we needed to eat. But a parrotfish, a unicorn fish, these different snappers and so on, but you'll never see them on a menu. And yet that's what we as locals eat at home on a day-to-day basis, and I'm like, that's what I feel we need to put forward. And that's what's going to give us value in our cuisine. And that's going to make people want to travel to us for these ingredients, and not necessarily, if we want to eat French cuisine, then let's go to France and eat French cuisine,
Right.
And we need to be confident enough to take the risk of putting these ingredients forward. And since I've come back, and seasonal cuisine, and through the conversations and cooking and putting plates in front, then the potential, started being like, hey, I think there's something we could do with this. I think we're onto something. And I gotta say, in the last 5 years, there's 2 chefs in particular that are my favorite chefs here that got it, that completely got it, and they're doing it. And I'm so proud of them. I'm so happy to see it finally. What I like to say is, like, finally we've created our culinary identity. It's Tahitian. It's the beginning of Tahitian gastronomy.
Not only do you cook, but you've got this food tour company too. And I wanted to ask you about the street food tour that you do, because I'm always interested in street food. Do we even call it street food in Tahiti, or is it beach food? I don't know. But tell me a little bit about the tour and some of the dishes that we might enjoy on that.
So it's funny you say that. Street food, the word street food Tahiti never existed until my food tour. And putting this food tour together it was quite the adventure, because it was, you have the idea comes up. You're like, okay, what am I going to put forward? What am I going to have people eat? And at the beginning, I kind of struggled because, like I said, over all these decades, we've always thought, tourists, when they come here, we're kind of a luxury destination, if you think about it.
Sure.
We're pushing over out of bungalows, these big resorts and all that. So in our minds, we're thinking, if Americans come here, they're only going to want to eat lobster and, like, some high-end, champagne. And so I started kind of looking around. I was like, man, what can I do to put forward? And I'll tell you what. Thank God I watched a lot of Anthony Bourdain and a bunch of other, like, travel shows, and the street food. And then I was like, dude, what is our street food? And I was like, okay, so then I gave me a different lens. And what really helped me with that, I was like, I always hear diving back into your childhood, your childhood. What did you grow up eating? What did you do this? So then I went to these then I had to go, okay, what did I eat? And I just made a list of things. And then I looked and I was like, hey, that looks like our street food if you compare it to, what street food means. So then I was like, I need to stop focusing on restaurants and focusing on these little mom and pop, what we call snack shops, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, we never see tourists at these places. Why are tourists going to these places? So then I looked into that even more. And then I was like, actually, tourists don't even know these snack shops exist. They're eating at restaurants. We only go to restaurants on special occasions. They don't come to snack shops. We go to snack shops and food trucks every day. So I was like, all right, we got to get these tourists to these snack shops. And here are the items that we need tourists to like get to know about. And then that's how it started. So I basically made a list of of what I ate growing up there and what everybody else grew up, because I would ask, everyone. And then from there, I put a tasting menu and stops together. And from when I started to today, it's evolved quite a bit. But it was kind of funny because when I one of the more popular ones on the tour is what we call a casse-croûte chow mein. It's a noodle sandwich.
Okay.
And when I had chose one of that to be on the tour, my friends were like, "Are you sure you want to put a noodle sandwich on the tour?" And I was like, "Why not?" I was like, "Don't you like it?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course we love it. I mean, we all grew up eating that." And I was like, "Well, that's the point." And they're like, "Yeah, but dude, tourists, they're not gonna eat that." And I was like, "Well, let's find out." And today it's like one of the more popular items on the tour. But for me, that sandwich is so much more than just a noodle sandwich. It's really like it's pretty like emblematic of who we are as a culture today. When you think about this sandwich, from the bread being the French culture that represented here, the chow mein from the Chinese culture that's represented here, and then Tahitians is who put the two together, and without those three cultures coexisting in this place, that sandwich would never exist.
I was just going to say, it's not only that it tastes delicious, and that's a big part of it, okay, right? It has to taste delicious, but it's also
Absolutely.
how you frame it, how you tell the story of this thing. And just you telling me the story right here, I'm like, I got to have the chow mein sandwich right now, This also reminds me of, I before we started recording, I told you that we lived in Hawaii briefly for a year. And this is what I had in mind when you mentioned the food trucks, because that's a huge thing in Honolulu and around Hawaii is the food trucks. And, the plate of the day that you could get for like it was $10 when we were there. I'm sure it's closer to 15 these days. But anyway, that would be where you would go, and you would get the spam, and you would get, all of those typical things. The what is it called? The locomota or something? Locomoco. All those kinds of dishes.
Beef,
all that stuff. But the snack shop, I want you to tell me more about the snack shop. I mean, this place sounds so awesome, and I'm just wondering, what's the atmosphere like? Do you go in and do you sit down, or is it takeaway? How do you find a good one? Tell me a little bit about this culture of the snack shop.
Yeah. So snack shop, for me, when you travel to Tahiti, you got to seek out these snack shops, And snack shop, so there's a few different formats, but it's more or less the same type of food, the same atmosphere. It's very local. That's where all the locals go. And some of them is just a big window, and it's got all kinds of food. It's got your finger foods that could be, dumplings, wontons, crab beignets, fish beignets, bao buns, all these things, and it could be quiches, croissants, and it could be literally between $1 to $3. So you got all these finger foods, $1 to $3, and you buy it per item or per piece. And then you got these hot plate lunches, right? And the hot plate lunches, it's really a fusion of, you got French food like couscous, you got curry and rice, you got pork, you got steak, spaghetti bolognese. I mean, it's a one-stop shop, and that's like $8 to $9 for a plate of that, right? And then you got all the raw fish, the like sashimi, the poisson cru, the tuna carpaccio, and that's like $10. So when you think about it, as a traveler, you spend $30 and you have like a mini buffet in front of you with all this assortment of food and the casse-croûtes, the noodle sandwich and the different casse-croûtes and stuff like that. But it's just a very affordable fun atmosphere, local atmosphere. To go, and people, one thing I think it's important to point out is, these kind of places can be intimidating to stop at. As a traveler, you show up, it's all locals. Usually you're the one tourist that shows up, everybody's staring at you,
Right.
And you'll be surprised how happy locals are to see tourists at these places. Because before the tour, it was. People always say, "Man, we drove by this place a couple times, but we were kind of intimidated because it was all locals." And you see, people are so friendly; they want to help you. They're stoked to see you. They'll be like, "Hey, come," and they'll help you. They'll help you order and things like that. So it's been really cool to watch it develop over the last 4 years. And now the vendors are like, "Hey man, like some tourists came the other day, they all wanted noodle sandwiches, or they all wanted like what you had on your tour." So it's a great way. That's why I would say food is always such a great vehicle in bringing people together, and so on. And that's really the best part about that. But yeah, snack shops, every island has them. You got to seek them out. Every island you go to, ask the local, where's your favorite snack shop? Because if you ask them, hey, where's a good place to go eat, or like a good restaurant, they're going to tell you where they think you want what you want to hear. But if you say, where's your favorite snack? Then they'll be like, oh, you know about snack. Okay, this is where I go on every day. And this is like breakfast, lunch. We eat all day. Food trucks, roulotte, take the place of the snack at night.
Oh.
Then that's where you go. Yeah. And it's pretty much everything under like $15. That's kind of like and lower. So that's the price point versus going to a restaurant, you're in the 20, 25, 30, 40.
I just want to reinforce what you said, Heimata, and agree with you wholeheartedly. Ask the local and phrase it just like you said. Where's your favorite place? Where do you go? Not where should I go? Okay, because you're going to get two different answers depending on how you phrase that question. So wholeheartedly agree with that. I want to ask you about the fruit in Tahiti, because like I mentioned, when we lived in Hawaii, this was one of my favorite things, is not only the fruit that you would expect, like pineapple, and some of the best pineapple I had in my entire life until I got to the Azores, was in Hawaii, but also the other kinds of fruits that I really didn't know about, like lychee fruit, which I hadn't had before, and lilikoi, which I hadn't had really fresh and delicious like I had in Hawaii. So tell me a little bit about Tahitian fruit. What should we look for when we come to Tahiti?
So yeah, fruits, lots of fruits, a lot of fruit stands that you see around. I always encourage people to stop at these fruit stands. A lot of seasonal fruit, really. I mean, Morea. So for Morea itself, pineapple, just like Hawaii. I still think we got better pineapple in Hawaii.
Good.
That's a different conversation. But so obviously the obvious pineapple is good. We got lychee. We got. You got, what is that? Star apple. We got this star apple. It's almost like a custardy flavor inside it. It's so good when it's in season. The bananas. But I think one thing is important to point out on the fruit here, right? I think that's the part that really catches people off guard is, in big countries today, you almost don't even have you have not even a variety of fruit, but a brand of fruits. Whereas like here, we have many varieties. So like mangoes, when it's mango season, there's over 80 different varieties of mangoes in the country. 80. Bananas, there's probably like 15 different varieties of bananas. So I always tell people, when we go on these tours, we have a part where we have fruit. I was like, hey, just because you ate a banana or ate a mango, don't just be like, oh, I already tasted it. No, keep tasting and make sure you look at the shape. You'll start seeing differences. Like on the tour, we have this mango. It's a crunchy mango. Nobody's ever had a crunchy mango, and it's automatically like, oh, it's not ripe. No, it's not that it's not ripe. It's the variety of mango that it is. But then we got the juicy ones. What else we got? Some of the great papayas, lychee, rambutans. We got rambutan season. We got God, avocado. You should see the avocado season. I'm a big taco fan, so when it's avocado season, I'm happy. But yeah, so even the avocados, you got so many different styles of avocado. We got those like thick ones, like the Hass avocados, but we got very like butter-like avocados, and they're huge. They're humongous. So I think that's the part where it's like we have so much going on and so many varieties, and it's, you gotta try some of the different fruits here. And every island too kind of like specializes in some of the, like Rurutu is famous for when it's lychee season. They just ship them in by the boxes because it's a colder weather down there, so they grow better and they're juicy.
So good. Love the lychee. I remember the first time I had one in Hawaii, I was like, what is inside this thing? This is so good. Well, this has been just a great conversation, Heimata. I've really enjoyed talking to you about Tahiti. Man, you're on the other side of the world from us. Literally the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But man, I gotta get to Tahiti somehow, some way, and I would encourage folks to do so and look you up at TahitiFoodTour.com and get out there and discover the real Tahiti. I think you've just framed this so nicely about the different cuisines and about what you guys are trying to bring forth to really be proud of Tahitian cuisine. And for that, I really tip my hat to you.
Hey, thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity to just share my culture, share the food culture, and I hope this will encourage many people to want to travel to Tahiti, not just for our beautiful beaches and nice resorts, but for the delicious food we're putting forward, and the food culture and the people of this place. So we'll see everybody here in the future. With future travelers, but thank you. This has been a great talking with you and sharing this.
Okay, that's Heimata Hall from Tahiti Food Tours. What an interesting journey he's on. You can book a tour with Heimata at TahitiFoodTour.com. And if you want to hear more of my conversation with Heimata, the entire interview is available to my Substack members. Heimata tells me about the Tahitian independence movement and a couple sweet treats, including the delicious fried dough called Firi Firi. Members of my Substack can listen to that for free. Get it at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, it's all about over-tourism. We talk about how to avoid the crowds in Florence, under the radar spots in Rome, and Dubrovnik. Don't miss that. Until then, there's lots of foodie travel at destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a new video. This one's about 5 must-try pastries in Portugal. There's so much more to Portuguese pastries than just pastel de nata, and you can see some of my faves by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. And you can support Destination Eat Drink at buymeacoffee.com. My foodie travel guide ebooks are available by clicking on the Extras tab. There's over 30 guidebooks for download, including my latest ones from Lecce and Monopoly in Italy. Plus, I just dropped my latest book, To Trani, a quaint little seaside town in Italy. Get them all at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.